blood and turning into relation, relation into relation. Am I recreating you by filling in what isn't true? A blank slate in an empty room. Hey lover, way, well lover, hey, hey lover, way. Have you been all my life? Hey lover, way, well lover, hey, hey lover, way. Have you been all my life? You are the prince I've been waiting to kiss me awake, 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 awake. It's perfect this tide will just ride with the light, 'cause when it shines just so I can see your shadow in me, tracing the places I want to be, and elevated to a fantasy so treacherous and steep. I can feel you breathing, coursing and beating. I'll cry till the music rings and rest in inconsistencies. I gotta have you all to me. Hey lover, way, well lover, hey, hey lover, way. Hey lover, way, well lover, hey lover, way. Have you been all my life? I wanna put all my dreams in you and make you have the same dreams too.
And that, my friends, is how we get started. It's another 20 Question Tuesdays. Graphic number 1. This week is Erin Ivey, everybody. Looking forward to that in just a minute. Oh, wait, I got to do one more that Jana does that I love. I like this one. Ooh, look at this. Oh, I pointed the wrong way. There you go. It's 20 Question Tuesdays, and we are live on Austin Music Television. Thank you, Sheila Steele, for that. We're also on AustinCityJams.com. Thank you, Kirby, for that. And we are on my Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube pages. And for those who don't know, this is your first time coming in on a 20 Question Tuesdays. Basically, the way it goes is this. I turned on my camera early on in the pandemic, and I just started taking questions, kind of like a workshop. I'm a professional musician, or keeping up the facade that I'm a professional anyway. And I got questions from everybody all over the place. I got questions from guitar players and songwriters and friends and contemporaries, and even my mentors showed up. And then I got questions from people who don't really know anything about music, like per se, but like they have the best questions. Like, they know what they know about music, and it just was so much fun. Shortly after that, Sheila said, "Hey, would you like to put this on the cable channel?" I said, "Sure." And so we did. I got this fancy, restreamy type thing, McDoodle, and I started streaming it out all over the place. And I saw a little button, a little person, and a plus sign, and it said "invite guests." And I thought, that's going to be infinitely more interesting than me doing this every week by myself. And first I had Michael O'Connor, then Jamie Harris, then Bill Kirchen, then Ruthie Foster, then Ray Wiley Hubbard. And I don't know, I've been doing it since May or something like that, every single week with all these wonderful, wonderful people. And this week is no different. Little bit of housekeeping. Let's see. This week on Sunday is the Resentment Show, so make sure you check that out. Also, the week after, we will be doing the Purgatory Players Sims benefit. The Purgatory Players benefit that we did a couple of Sundays ago for the Central Texas Food Bank, we raised over 10 grand. And that's you, people. And I can't thank you enough. I was absolutely blown away. Everybody sent in some videos. We're going to have all new people. I'm going to ask Erin if she wants to do one for this time, because I haven't asked yet. And we're trying to have a whole new cast for this Purgatory Players benefit. And I'm making a Spotify playlist with all the old cast members and all the new cast members, so everybody can be involved. That'll be on the 28th of this month. And then later tonight, as usual, I will be doing my From Here to There show. And I'll have a special announcement about next week's From Here to There show, where, I'll mention it then. I think that's it for the housekeeping, and we can, without further ado, go ahead and invite Erin Ivey. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, I'm going to take that thing off your head, because now that you're here, I don't want that thing in here.
Oh.
No. Oh, do you want me to put it back?
Wait, okay. Like,
yeah, if you do it like that,
it could be like a hat.
A beanie.
I have to.
Or as we say here in Canada, a toque.
It's sort of like
you never said toque in northern Michigan, no? Did you?
No, I had to go all the way up to Toronto for that.
You'd have to go to Toronto, or actually Windsor. Did you go to Windsor to drink like most of us did? We would go to Windsor because the drinking age was 18. But, that's I digress. Okay, I'm getting rid of it again. Erin Ivey, I have so many cool things to talk to you about, and I'm super, super glad you could do the show. We have really, really, really great questions already. Folks, if you don't know, this is all about your questions and not mine, because obviously I'm kind of a yapper. And the way we get Erin talking about stuff is through your questions that you put into the little chat bot thing over there. And they all aggregate. So no matter where you're listening, I see people on Twitch and Facebook. I see people on YouTube. I don't see anybody on Twitter Periscope yet, but that's fine. Last week it didn't work for Twitter. I don't know why. Okay, so first question. I'm going to dive right in because I love this person and this question, but it's from my phone. She actually texted me. Oh, and I'll also mention this. Dan Jason asked, where can I get questions early to you? We have a Facebook group, and you can always put the questions in early there, so I get them early and make sure that your question gets asked. Also, you can reply to my newsletter, or you can reply to any of the posts that we put online on any of the things. I'll see it. I'll write the question down. Hopefully, we'll get to it during the show. Jana's question, Jana Pokop, who you know and who is a friend of the show. She's been on the show, but she has a really cool question, and I want to start with it. If that's okay, we'll dive right in. Since all of us musicians at some point this year will probably get back to more normal, in quotes, live in-person show schedule, and since some of us, me, feel really, I like this, I'm animating her question because she wrote it quite animatedly.
That's how she talks.
Well, that's true too, right? She's animated. Clearly. So some of us, me, feel really out of shape, live show shape. We feel out of shape since it's been a year. She says, what are you doing what do you recommend for a musician's tune-up, vocally, body, etc., to feel a little bit more at ease with the reintroduction? Do you have any ideas this way?
What a question, Jana. That's such a good question that I would love to pose right back. What the hell are we going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you're not already, which you are, like live streaming a lot, like that's just keeping your chops up, right? Making set lists and keeping your show tight. And like if you're not already doing that, which I know you are, should be doing that. We should all be doing that. I recommend it.
That's a great answer right there. If you're not already live streaming, then it might be a good idea to do a couple just to get your chops back up and to get talking with people and interacting. So that's a great idea.
Get your, just, and the thing about writing set lists for me is that like the more prepared I am, the more off the cuff I can go. Like that's something that I forgot until I started live streaming, and because there was it was like shows just fell off a cliff. Like they just stopped. Right. And I was like, I'm just going to not do anything for a while. But then getting back into that of like bringing in new material and like just getting back into that groove, getting that blood flowing, that helped me a lot. Jeff, what do you think?
Well, I was going to say thank you for asking. I was going to say that one of the things that a couple of my friends have referred to as Austinitis is going to a show and kind of doing your homework on stage. We're so lucky in Austin to have audiences that love to hear new music, love to hear us try stuff. And then we go to another town and people are like, what are they doing? Like, I paid $20. I didn't pay to see them learn stuff. And they don't get it. They don't get it in other towns. They do sometimes in Texas, but they don't. So I think your set list thing is a really, really good idea for that kind of anytime. Like I feel more free, like even if I don't have a set list, if I have a known one in mind for like, my live, my solo shows, my band shows, my playing with other people, if I'm going to sit in, then I'm not up there kind of like freaking out about it. And I have like a little bit of a rhythm, and then if somebody asks for a request, then I'm like, oh yeah, sure. I can throw that in between A and B. Yeah. But we in Austin, we're so spoiled by great audiences that we forget when we leave Austin, people don't get that, Yeah.
On stage is not where they want to see your process unfolding.
Guy Clark was famous for seeing a guy with like lyrics on stage and saying, I don't want to watch him do his homework. And I was like, oh my God, it's so harsh.
Oh yeah.
But he's right.
Yeah. That's one thing that we are able to do on live streaming that like you don't know, but I could have all sorts of stuff like right around here that where, as long as my eye is sort of looking in the general direction, like you don't know that I'm totally reading a chart. That's a great point that we're going to have to get better about not cheating.
Well, yeah, and I don't know about you. I mean, I understand. I have certain friends that have so many songs that they carry an iPad. And I've kind of relinquished being snooty about it because it's like, well, yeah, they've been writing for 30 years and they play a lot of those songs and people have cut those songs. I used to be kind of like, man, they don't need an iPad, like, come on, man, you don't even know your own songs. But I've given that up because I still try and know my own sets. I try not to have lyrics on stage. That's just my personal preference, but I get it. And like, just like right now, I've written down my questions and I have them down here, but I will tell you this too. When somebody's doing a live stream, I can tell when they're like, I'm kind of like, they just don't know it yet, but it is good to do it in the live streams, I think. As far as what Janice said about tuning up vocally and body, man, go back to whatever you're comfortable with, right? Like, what are your warm-ups? Are you a person who warms up vocally?
Yes. Yeah.
What are your vocal warm-ups? Do you care? Are they embarrassing or are they fun?
They're absolutely embarrassing.
Good.
Course.
Have you ever done Falling Rocks? Do you
No,
know
what's
Falling
that?
Rocks?
No.
Falling
I
Rocks.
like that.
Really,
My
really good to get
version
the
of
whole
that
range.
is I just do it on a yahoo, like yah.
I mean, if you can do that, then you've kind of loosened up a whole lot of stuff,
The
right? You've gone from
siren,
your
yeah, that
head
siren
voice.
action from top to bottom is really great. I like to tell people to think about their voice as like a rubber band that's been in the freezer all night. And so you start like just woo, woo,
Super smart.
woo, like just start and not pushing and like doing all sorts of like breath of fire that
Yeah, and low breathing, right?
get your diaphragm going. Oh
Breathe
God,
from
I
the
could nerd out
diaphragm.
for men. Actually, Jana Pokop attended a workshop that I did called The Joy of Singing, where I talk all
Yeah.
about breath and breathing and how to tune into your diaphragm and all sorts of exercises for warming up and stuff. Yeah, got to do that.
I think it's kind of underrated, and so many people will say, "I don't need anybody to tell me how to sing," or "I can't do that," and I'm always just kind of like, "Well, no, I mean, like, okay, but don't you want to like a little exercise? Like, I'll do a little bit before I warm up, and it'll go a long way." I had a
Even a
great
handstand, like a handstand is a really
right,
quick
anything
and
that
easy
kind of
way.
loosens you up or whatever. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's been a while, Aaron, since
I mean,
I've done a
don't hurt
handstand.
yourself.
Yeah, that might not be advisable at this point, but it's a great idea. Yoga,
Yeah.
sure, I can do men's yoga before a show or something. I got this great book called Office Yoga, and I used to use it on the road when I was on the bus.
Mm.
Because it was like anything you could do in a chair, I can do in the studio, or I can do if I could do it at the desk, then I could do it on the road. And I found all these things that would kind of loosen up. And I also find that anything that we're lucky as singers, anything that involves the breath is completely meditative
Yeah.
and really kind of gets you out of your own head. Do you agree?
I agree. That's my favorite part of church. We start singing together, we sing together throughout, and then at the end we sing together. Like there's a reason for that. It's this
Mm.
beautiful like shared experience. You don't need to sing with people, but that's the best, and that's what I'm looking most forward to, getting back on on stage and having like separating the audience into three pieces and being like, here's your part, here's your part, here's your part.
So
And then I
much
do my
fun.
thing and they support with like whatever three parts there. And again, here's a place where we're super spoiled in Austin because we have audiences that can do that and hold a tune
And
and
rhythm.
will.
And they
Yeah.
tend to have rhythm too. Dan Jason says, I love it when Betty Sue makes someone sing a song they don't know using iPad lyrics. See, now that's fun. That's what a couple friends of mine, one of them, here comes some good name drops. No, I'll leave them out. A couple
No,
of them.
now you have to.
No, I'm not going to. And then when they first moved to San Francisco to start playing on the scene, a couple of horn players I knew, they didn't have any gigs. One's a saxophone player, one's a clarinetist, and they're both really, really rocking and play with big bands now. One of them has done Tom Waits records, one does Arcade Fire stuff, still really, really great musicians. They didn't have any gigs, so they did what they called guerrilla karaoke. It's so awesome. They would go to a karaoke bar and they would choose a song that the other one didn't know and make them go sing it. And so one of them would choose a song that he was just like, I know he doesn't know this song. And then make him go up and try to sing that song he didn't know. And I was just like, oh, if you really want to get out of your own head and stop taking yourself too seriously, do some
Karaoke is
guerrilla
always the way to do that anyway.
karaoke even more so. Like, not, I know how to do, this song or that song, but give me that Katy Perry song and make me go up and do it.
Oh my
It's
God.
great, whatever it is.
I look forward
So
to doing this with you when we're in the same city. And
we might have to do guerrilla
Yeah.
karaoke after a show one night. I think that would be. It's just
That-
it's thrilling. It's so
that'd be
much
rad.
fun.
And then we could tie in that shot of whiskey that someone gave us that.
Well, not for me.
Oh,
Wait,
it's not
Lee
scroll.
Doctari says no name drops. who are
Mark.
you? What have you done with Plank? Oh, that's good. Thanks. All right, back to the cool questions, because that first question from Jana got a whole lot of cool things. Everybody knows also that I split the tips with my guests, so please, if you get a chance, I want to make sure that Cam and right, Cam
Yeah,
and
my
Erin
husband.
get
Yes.
get you just make sure that we're getting them enough that they can, like, a good tank of gas for one of those new gigs, or a nice takeout meal or something like that. I like to do that for the folks who are on my show, and you guys are super, super generous about it. So thank you. And once again, we're talking to Erin Ivey, and here's a couple of places where you can find out. And you heard that beautiful song, Where Have You Been?
All my life. Where
All
have
My
you been all
Life.
my life?
Where Have You Been All My Life, which is getting a lot of airplay and stuff like that. Tell me real quick about working with Chuck Pinnell and being at Blue Rock, and kind of what your experience was with that record.
Was a long time coming. We wrote these songs in like 2014, 2015, 2016. Yeah. And then, so then I had to, after about a decade of full-time music, I had a family situation that I had to like plug into real money to solve. And so I unplugged from music and went full corporate, on the road as a consultant for Fortune 500 companies in project management methodology for like 3 or 4 years. I worked with Black Fret for a little bit in there as well, which was cool. That brought me back to Austin, which was really great. But yeah, I had written all these songs, and Chuck Pinnell, the wonderful producer and guitar player, co-writer on 3 of the songs, put together this amazing band. Peter Stupczynski on piano, Chris Afflerbaugh on bass, Steve Schwelling on drums. We had Rich Brotherton on, a number of instruments, as you can imagine. Noel Hampton sang background vocals. Dan Dyer sang on it. Warren Hood sings and also plays the fiddle on a song. And anyway, it was just this wonderful thing that sort of just was going, and then kind of stopped. And we just eked it out over the next few years. And then in 2018, we got to go. I had received a Black Fret grant. And so that's what I used to go to Blue Rock. And that was just a magical experience, because you get to go out into this beautiful place. It was October, I think, of 2018 that we recorded over 3 days there, and then spent the next year tweaking the mixes, slowly but surely.
Without sounding too much of a plug, for those who don't know, Blue Rock is a really, really well-respected studio, but it is also a little slice of heaven as far as like where it is situated, views. It's pretty, it's not just, it's a lot. And recording there, because of that, kind of gives you, you're separate. You can't really have the regular world jump in unless you're on your phone all day. You put that away, then, because Blue Rock's Wimberley.
It's in Wimberley. Yeah. And we really needed, like, we hadn't played together as a band. We hadn't even rehearsed for like 2 years when we went there. So I was really counting on that space and the magic of being there together in that little like hermetically sealed, gorgeous area to be the place where we could all come. And I mean, we had played all these songs at the Long Center and at ACL Live. And so we had shows underneath of our, like we had played the songs together before, just not in a long time. So being there gave us the ability to focus and produce the album.
Yeah, it sounds like a long time coming, and also, well, and I think it's a good thing. Also, a lot we get a lot of songwriters and a lot of people on this show checking it out throughout the week and stuff, and letting them know that there are people who have had to take off 2 years for their family to do this and that, who come back and have success, and to not think, I will never, ever be able to do this if I don't do it now, is a really good thing for people to hear. a record being a moment in time, a record being where you are at a point in your life, a record being, you know, I think a lot of us kind of go into it thinking, if I don't do this right now, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And your story is one just in this little microcosm of, we had to wait, but isn't it good that we did? Is
Yeah,
that
it's
kind of how you
definitely,
feel about it?
it's meticulously crafted, and I think it didn't have, since I was unavailable physically for so
Yeah.
much of that time, I wasn't able to get in my own way. I wasn't able to force things, and normally I'm such a control freak. Like, I want it yesterday, and I want
Yeah.
it the way that I want it. And
Yeah.
really, I mean, Chuck is so patient and kind and gentle. He really led with such he led all of us with a really careful touch, and I think his part of that, he made the record so, like, it just sounds cohesive, and he's brought
Mhm.
together all these different kinds of beautiful acoustic instruments, and then you've got the stamp of blue rock on there with that nature feeling vibe, which is very conducive to the songs, and conducive to just, there's a vibe. There's a
Yeah.
vibe that never would have happened if I had been like, you know what, we can't afford to go to Blue Rock, or
Right.
for whatever reason I talked myself out of it because we're just gonna go do the easy thing or whatever. And then yeah, I couldn't. I wasn't able to ruin it.
I think it's really interesting what you said. I want to go back. That's beautiful. I wasn't able to ruin it. My friend Miles, here's another name drop, Miles Zuniga from Fastball and the Resentments. I sent him a song one time, and I said, yeah, I got this idea for the song. It'll be my next single, actually. And he goes, this is almost done. And he just like threw these lyrics back at me. And he was like, all we have to do is not screw this one up. You know, and I think it's so true that and that's one of the beauty of co-writing, and that's one of the beauties of being with a producer that you trust, is, you know, not, like you just said, not letting yourself get in your own way, not letting yourself ruin it. And I wanted to ask you, I have had situations where I have met quote unquote famous producers or worked with them, and they like to really, really like yell at an artist. And they like to really, really, and I gotta say, I'm pretty thick-skinned. I couldn't handle it. I could not handle someone that I hired, you know, kind of yelling at me. And I've always kind of felt like a gentle touch, even if I'm doing a rock tune, was like a little bit more my speed, you know. What we got out of it was what we got out of it. But you said something about Chuck being, you know, kind of gentle and open about things. Could you speak a little more to that and why that worked for you?
Oh my God. Well, I feel so bad that you've been. Who's
Oh, it's been
yelling at
rough.
you,
It's
Plank?
been rough. It was years
You
ago,
give
but it
me
was
their
rough.
name.
I just wanted to break my fingers. It was rough.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Everybody's motivated by different things. And I guess that could work for some other people, but yeah, Danielle and I are going to find this person and take care of it. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
But
I was trying to get more to no, and I'm sorry too, because you know I wanted to get to why you felt it was so great that he was, you know, to some people it's not obvious. Some people need, you know, hey, tell me what to do. I want to do it this way, you know.
Honestly, like I think he's sort of a ninja in that he led me to believe I was in charge the whole time. And I feel like I did have
Oh, no,
veto
that's
power,
good.
you know?
Sure, of
Like,
course, of
but
course.
I felt like, that he wasn't trying to strong arm anything. And if I really did feel strongly about something, he would address it.
You'd give it a listen.
It was a really good collaboration. And the thing is, like, he kept working on it. Like when I would have to disappear for, I was on the road constantly. So I was just plain unavailable. And then I would get back to the hotel at night and maybe scribble some lyrics on a napkin. But that was like the extent of my creative outlet at that time. But he was still working on sequencing. You know, like he
Yeah.
had these demos that we had done at rehearsals or recordings from shows, and he was always working behind the scenes and always like giving me new things to either think about, or just knowing that he was still invested, even though I couldn't be
Yes.
fully invested,
Yes.
just gave me so much hope.
I think that there's a couple other things you mentioned in there that are really, really great and kind of speak to its success, and also, you know, a good thing to say about Chuck is
Mhm.
that a lot of them punch the clock. A lot of producers punch the clock, and they're working when we're working, and that's it. There's no listening to it later. They're working when they're on the clock. And that to me is always kind of like, oh, well, then obviously they really don't care about what I'm doing that much. So why do I want to call them again? You know? And and I've luckily only had that experience really once. And then the other thing is that your opinion matters. Like the few times I've been able to produce that I've really enjoyed it, I've kind of told people they'll say, well, I don't know about this or I don't know about that. And I'm like, no, what's inside your head and like these, when you were writing the song, has to be so close to what we want to get. You know, in my opinion, I just feel like the dream world of the artist is such a place that I want to try and help them get to, because I have the experience of listening to past recordings and going, ooh, oh, I did that. I don't ever want anyone I ever produce to ever feel that way.
Maybe
You know?
Kay calls that the cringe factor.
Oh,
Is it a high
the
cringe factor?
worst.
Then you need to redo it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And sometimes it's just sometimes it may just be self-conscious, or I know an artist would be insecure. It's unheard of. But you know, sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's us taking ourselves a little too seriously. Other times it's no, I really don't want that to go on my record. You have to feel comfortable, and I have to feel comfortable. I had to learn the hard way to say, well, I don't care that you have this big name. I don't want that on my record. You know, it sounds like you were in a really good place with Chuck for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I
Okay,
couldn't have done,
sorry.
I could not have made this album the way that it is without him. It just simply wouldn't exist.
Mm-hmm. Well, this kind of goes to a question from a friend of ours named Kevin, who you might know. And Kevin, he says he wants to know how the song that we were playing in the intro, he kind of wants to know how you got such a cool groove. He used the word sexy. How did you get such a sexy groove on Where Have You Been All My Life? Now it's a particularly different groove than some of the other, like, you know, as you go through the album, we have some kind of airy things. We have this has a little bit of a kind of feel.
Yeah.
So talking about that song, great, do it.
This is my, here, wait, let me see if I can get this.
Here, I'll make you full screen while you're talking about this.
Right. Well, thank you for your question, Kevin. Kevin Connor, one of my favorites. So the way that I did that was just, gosh, I don't know. It's a little bit, it's just bar chords. But I started it so that I could, take my finger off and have that be the E. I mean, that's about as fancy as I get.
Well, yeah, but you are you're kind of digging in. Do you feel like you're digging in a little bit harder than you do on some of the other tunes? So that could be part of it. Sometimes just intent will create a little bit more of a groove.
Yeah,
oh,
totally.
You still with me? Okay, cool.
Totally.
I thought you. Yeah.
And but then when I go to that D, that voicing of the D, that's just the regular voicing.
Out a little bit. Yeah.
It's a totally different, it sort of, it smooths itself out, and then you can get to that gritty, like, I mean, E minor is just the best.
Yeah.
E minor,
but it's F sharp minor, right?
F sharp minor is also very good. Oh, it is. Yeah, you're right.
Your song's in F sharp minor, but you're kind of playing that E minor bar chord. Here, I'll show everybody again. Do you mind playing that riff for the beginning? Yeah, to
So
me that makes
I'm
me go
lifting off just a little bit to get that sort of like.
forward kind of push too as well. And it's one of those things, it's like if you listen to something and then all of a sudden you go, okay, that means that it's grooving, you know? It's like if it forces you to kind of move a little bit, or it makes you make one of those funny, you know, faces, cringy faces, like, then you know you got something that's grooving.
Yeah. Well, and Steve
the-
Schwelling was the drummer on that, and he didn't have
yeah,
any cymbals. I think if there is a cymbal crash, we added it later. I think there might be something. At least we tried that, but that was something where like it was so laid back, and we had Rich Brotherton come in with a lot of the gutsier guitar.
who's doing the slide?
I think that's Rich.
Oh, I
Actually.
love that you have to check.
Yeah, hang on.
Because, you know, it's just like, you know, you had some
There's a
great
lot going
people on this
on.
record. There's a lot going on that song. There's great layers.
Okay, so Chuck is playing his Collings acoustic guitar. I'm
Right.
playing some acoustic guitar. Peter's on grand piano. Rich is playing a Glendale Blackguard Telly 2014 and a National New Yorker electric lap steel.
That's what it was. So I was like, it feels like he's playing it this way. It felt like he was playing it this way. I didn't know for sure. You don't always know, but it felt like he was playing it that way. And that creates kind of a different sound too. It's I find that this slide is not always as melodic as playing with your lap. A lot of times lap is a little bit more recreating the sound of the human voice, and this way is a different thing. That's why some interesting cats like Gurf Morlix plays above the neck because he learned how to play pedal steel first.
Yeah.
And so he stands up and he plays with a beer bottle this way. And his licks on regular guitar sound a lot more like lap for that reason. Nerding out. I'm just nerding out a little bit. It's really, really great. It's really great on the record. And it's like one of the things that's really awesome. Okay, so we have a question that just came in, and I'm going to get to it now because I like it. And it's not in my written down questions from earlier, but I like this and I don't want to miss it. Stephanie has a question. She says, could Erin discuss the different voice styles she employs in the various songs? And although that's a big question, I might be able to help you narrow it down a little bit. In that, do you kind of you know, do you have like a breathy voice? Do you have a this is my rock voice? Do you have a this is what I'm going to do on a gentle song voice? Do you employ a little bit of that? You
wish.
just sing it and it comes out.
No, I wish. My voice has always kind of been a little underpowered. So where I think I sound best, or where I think I do the best, is either head voice, like really pretty high things, or in the case of that song, I wanna put all my dreams
It's more
in
breath
you.
down here.
It's still, I mean, it's still like close. Belting is not something that I do, or I mean, every once in a while you just got to, because the song calls for it, or you're in, you know, or it does it for you.
It's a little on the chorus when you. Sorry, I
oh
shouldn't
yeah,
have done
that's
that out
true.
loud.
That's true.
But it's
still,
a little there.
I can bring more power high, and that's just a lack of training on my part. Like I've been really interested lately in getting some more lessons and being able to build that diaphragm connection to like link the higher voice and the lower voice together, so that
there's
my
less of a break between
passage is a little bit easier to handle. Because if something lands in that little space between the voices, then it's like super hard to control. So also, I really love reverb, and I think reverb covers a multitude of sins. So
Yes, it does.
whenever possible, I just love to go swimming in some reverb, because
Put a little sauce on it.
Yeah.
Put some sauce on my voice.
It's the good
you know,
sauce.
it does. You mentioned, and for the people who like talking about singing and stuff, what voice teachers call placement. And I mean, it's really, really simple. It's like, most guys who talk, they talk down here because they think that it makes them sound more manly. And they don't realize that their natural speaking voice is actually more around here, and that they'll do less damage to their voice if they speak a little higher. But if I talk to you like this all day, it would sound a little strange. It'd sound like, why is he talking like that? Even though it's way better for my voice, it sounds a little weird. So there's this weird thing, and the same thing happens with ladies. And so, finding out where your voice is placed and knowing that your head voice, meaning like I sing it, I know it's coming out of here, but it feels like it's coming out of my head. That's head voice, right?
Yeah.
And so, but then when you wanted to do something breathy, like the beginning, da, 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 you don't want to sing it out of your neck, but it's lower placed.
Yes.
And that creates the tone difference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a lower part. I mean, it's a lower
in pitch.
Yeah, it's a lower pitch. So as long as you know where your comfort zones are there, I mean, I think you can bring thank you for the question, Stephanie. I think you can bring a lot of different voice styles, as long as you're not, I mean, I'm not comfortable in places where I'm hurting my voice. My voice is easily, like, I can feel it really, I am easily hurt. I'm a sensitive person, and my voice is the same way too. So if I have the choice to do like a Billie Eilish kind of style versus, I don't know, Whitney Houston, although Whitney, man, she could do all the things. Whitney could do.
She was a freak of nature.
She was so gifted, and worked her ass off. And she worked really hard.
That's fine. We're on cable.
Okay, sorry.
No, help me.
But actually, she's a good example of someone who had a lot of versatility in her vocal delivery, and did all of it really, really well. Gosh, yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't get enough credit for the singing, and not just for having a great instrument, but for what she was able to do with it. I 100% agree on that.
Yeah.
But that's something interesting, because, you listen to a Jana and Janice, not Jana, Janice, and
Jana's a great example, actually, of a really of a voice with a ton of character, and yet she's staying in her strong suit. Like, that's when you hear her voice, it's her.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sorry,
I dig that too. No.
But Janice.
But then when we're talking about Janice and stuff, it's like, okay, she literally wrecked her voice. If a voice teacher would go crazy when they saw what she did and the way she did, but was what it was. And some people are just freak natures, and some people can do it. And who knows if she was, however age now, if she'd still be going, or if she would have lost it, like so many do when they sing that way.
Yeah, there's a whole, like, so many people are having surgery on their vocal cords and their larynx. Many more than you would ever imagine, because pop music has evolved without any consideration for the physics of doing, like, what that takes from your voice every day to be doing that constantly. And then if somebody has a modicum of success, then they're also doing interviews, and they're also, so there's like this
interviews are the worst.
They
for your
suck.
voice.
Who wants to answer questions?
Yeah, exactly. But it's way worse for your voice. You could sing all day. I saw St. Vincent was recently talking about this on a video that I was watching. And Annie was saying, she's like, talking is what messes up my voice. She's like, singing, and agreed. I feel the same way. I have to really, really watch when I'm talking to keep it up, to keep the head voice more engaged. I had this wonderful voice teacher for, like, I don't know, just a few years in high school. And her name was Mary Irvine. And when she would call for her son, if he was out playing, she'd go, Jonathan, and she had this operatic, beautiful, beautiful voice. And she gave me a lot of things about what not to do. And one of them was really kind of the Groucho Marx rule, which is, Doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, don't do that. You know, like when it hurts, don't. And the same thing if you're playing guitar. If it starts to hurt, doesn't mean you have to develop big old muscles. It means you have to learn how to relax. You know,
Yeah.
for guitar playing, for vocal, all of it. Learn how to ease your voice, and then you'll have more control over it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's muscles, just like anything else. So if you don't, and that's actually, this goes back to Jana's first question, the first question from Jana about like, how do you get warmed up for real life shows? And this is part of that too. Yeah.
It absolutely is. So thank you, Stephanie, for that question. I hope it answered a little bit. I mean, she really kind of wanted to know about discussing the different voice styles you employ. But do you think about different voices for different songs? We did talk about that a little bit. We talked about, just within the microcosm of that song, how you used a lower voice for this part and a higher voice for this part.
Yeah.
We
Yeah. And it's
touched on it a little
interesting.
bit.
Normally I would have more power in the low voice, but this one allows me to sort of whisper in the low voice and give power up high. So yeah,
And
that's
belt.
cool. That's cool.
And it's interesting, that it changes from song to song for
Mm-hmm,
sure.
absolutely.
Dan always has really interesting questions. If you don't know our friend Dan Jason, who has Dan ViewTube, which is over on YouTube, and it's hundreds, probably thousands now, of live performances from like Austin shows of every musician you could ever think of. And it's pretty amazing. Sets up a little camera when he goes to a show. It sounds great and gets live performances. And it's so great because people find out about us who never would have because of Dan. But he has he likes to ask a little bit about schooling sometimes about different people. And he's asking a similar question to you. There's actually kind of a 3-part. What years did you live in the Naval Academy? Live at the Naval Academy. Did you go visit any neat places as a military kid? And I write these questions out really fast when I get them late. Where'd you go to high school, and what did you study in college? Let's go one at a time. What years did you live at Naval Academy? You were
yeah. Everything that I remember about growing up happened in and around the Naval Academy grounds. So that was until I came to Austin in '96.
Was it mom or dad?
My dad was a Marine.
Gotcha.
And he taught at the academy, and my stepfather still teaches at the academy. So
well, I like to say thanks for your service, but I also like to say never forget. So a little bit of both of those to your pops. Did you live any neat places as a military kid? Did you go any places that
we stuck around Annapolis actually, and because my dad was stationed at places that were within driving distance, like he was at the Pentagon a little bit, he was on Capitol Hill for a little bit, he was at the academy proper for a little bit. So we kind of like, Annapolis was just a good hub to stay. So a lot of my friends came and went, but we were lucky to be able to settle down. Of course, it was it was a very like buttoned up community. So I was really glad to come to Austin and find all these weirdos.
Yeah, Austin's a good place to let your freak flag fly. And, it's welcome from Willie Nelson on down the line. It's that wonderful. It's just great for that, for sure. What was I going to say? Oh, so high school was in Annapolis?
Mm-hmm.
And then college, what did you study?
I came here to UT, and I started in the business school, and then I just could not.
No wonder you're successful.
I attribute it all to that calculus class that I could never pass. So after like my 3rd time trying to take calculus, I was like, this is not happening. And so I ended up studying with a program that studies the Second World War, which is a ton of history, a ton of art. I mean, it was from a lot of different perspectives. It was a beautiful program called the Normandy Scholar Program. And that just kind of changed my whole trajectory because I was not happy in the business school. And this was a very like holistic way of looking at a really interesting period of history from a number of different perspectives. And then we ended up in Europe for the last 3 weeks of the semester to touring the places that we had been studying about, and meeting
Whoa, now
like
that's really
survivors
cool.
and people who had been in the French Resistance at the time were still alive. And it was a totally life-changing program. And then I came back home and I thought the only thing that I really, really want to do is go back to France. Like, I have to do that. And I need to change my major. So I changed it to humanities, which at UT is a design your own major program. And so I wrote my thesis on child development through music. And I did do a lot of study abroad after that too. So that was, it was a really, is such a huge, huge university that there are lots of opportunities to find little niches of cool stuff happening.
Well, we talked briefly before the show about education, and I want to get to that towards the end. But before we get to that, because that'll be a great segue into that, I want to make sure Kate Howard, our friend, the Austin word woman, who we all know and love, Kate, and I mean that, it just came out weird. Live stream with audience member. Okay, she says, what's your favorite way? I mean, this is a tough one too, Kate, because it's like, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to see what you say. She says, like, what's your favorite place to perform? Live stream with audience members across the country, amphitheater with hundreds of audience members, or an intimate house concert?
Yes. Yes.
That's the answer. That's exactly what the answer is. Okay, now explain. I'll let you.
All of those are great. When people tune in from across the country, fantastic. That's amazing. To play an amphitheater with hundreds of people, that's fantastic. And to play a house concert is also the best. So like all of these, like as long as the sound is good.
Yeah.
And there are people there.
Like, yeah, they all have a heartbeat.
I would like to book all of those gigs. Thank you.
Yeah, it's like if they have a heartbeat and an attention span, I'm there. You know, I mean, like at the same time, we used to joke. My first tours. Here's another name drop. My first tours with Ray Wiley Hubbard. He used to joke. He's like, if you got $100 in a small salad, then we'll come play your house. You know, he's vegetarian, and you know, and it was funny. That's not, you can't get him now for that, but when I started playing with him, you could. Not really. But isn't it true that I don't know, tell me, one of the things I learned playing with other people and then going out on my own was all of those things have a different vibe. And isn't it great in the type of music that we play that we can do all of those? Like, I love putting a house concert in the middle of a tour. You know, it's like, okay, club house concert. I'm going to really get to know these people. There's going to be a potluck. We're going to hang out. Yeah. They buy tons of merch. And then you go to a club and you got a band and you're rocking out and it feels professional and it's like a show. And, you know, and then you play some other thing and it's a different way. And they're all different ways of getting your music out. Yeah,
I mean, I guess if I had to rank them, because I feel like I gave an answer of no answer.
You still said you have a wonderful answer, by the way.
Oh, thanks, Kate.
But I
think the house concert is the most like nutrient dense way to consume music and also to perform it and get that immediate feedback. The merch always, you know, you're making like personal connections with people face to face, and they're not there because they want to get wasted, or they're not there because they like, it's not about alcohol in that scenario. It's about music.
Or getting laid. If you're young enough, usually it's about getting laid.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I mean, all of those things
shows
tend to go together.
True.
And I think, so that would probably be my first, because you get that intimate personal connection with people who like that. That's just the best, which you maybe can't in a larger venue say hi to everybody or visit with everybody or sign whatever so I would say that if there's like a heart to heart connection, that's what I'll go for
probably the
anytime, as
tops.
opposed to like casting the net really, really wide and hoping that somebody is actually listening.
Do you find also that with that intimate personal connection at the live, I find that the people that I get, the bigger the show, the less I get lifetime fans. Intimate shows, I get people who have gotten to know me that I see them again and again and again and again and again and again and again. And a
Yeah.
big show, it's like, okay, well, there's 100 people here. I'm thrilled if 20 of them become lifetime fans. And the other ones, well, they'll come to a show every 10 years, or they'll come to a show every 5 years, or 1 year, or whatever. But those intimate shows, it's like, these are music lovers.
Yeah. Well, those are the times when, I mean, as an audience member, those are the times when the songs become so personal because they're happening right in front of you. And also those are the songs that then you take home to your family. And one of those songs that you played at the house concert becomes the lullaby that you sing to your kids every night, or whatever. Like those are those personal life kind of connections. That is why that's why we're making music, because we have those feelings and it's transferable through music in such a beautiful way that, yeah, I find in a smaller, more intimate setting, people are more likely to knit those songs that they've heard that night into their lives.
Yeah. I feel also it has been really wonderful to do the live stream thing, also in the fact that, like, I don't think I'm going to stop, because I have people in I'm in Canada right now. When I get back to Texas, when I go back to Canada, when I go to the UK, when I go to Japan, I have people.
Yeah.
And they don't have to wait this way. If they want, they can tune in to a Tuesday. And if there's 20 people there, fine. If there's 100 people there, fine. But they'll get to hear new music, and they'll get to kind of stay involved and be part of the whole thing. Speaking of house concerts, Dan just put up something in the comments. I'm sure we will all check that out. Okay, let's do another quick question.
Oh, yeah, Dan, I think I know what that is. Thanks for posting that.
You do? What is that he posted?
It was a house concert at Karen Hudson's place.
Oh, great!
Gosh,
great.
Maybe
there's a music fan right
like
there.
a while ago. That was before. It was before the before times.
In the yeah, exactly. Craig Pearson mentions. Oh, with Eric Betancourt. Good. He's been on the show. Craig Pearson mentions Patreon. Now, I have a Patreon. Do you have a Patreon?
I would love to hear your experience with that. I am getting to the point now where I'm like, that really seems like it might be a cool way to have this little like secret vault area for all of my ideas that aren't necessarily songs, but they're not songs, but they're not something that I'm going to put out on Spotify or whatever, or even maybe on a record, but it's like there's so much that I want to be able to share with the people who would care or want to see the process or want to hear the random little things. Yeah.
Long story short, I resisted Patreon for a long time, not really knowing. I found my own niche with it. I don't have a ton. I think I have like 104 followers. It's beautiful.
Great.
I love them so much, because the thing is, everybody kind of finds their own niche. You and I will talk. We'll talk about this.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. It's so personal. And it's such a great place to try out stuff on people and to, give them music that you're working on. They want that backstory of what it's about. And, I know myself, I end up, the sound of Cabbage Alley means that we're getting close. I get to find out so much about what my audience is into and what they dig. And one month I do solo acoustic fingerstyle tunes, and then the next month I do a Prince tune and a funk tune with Yogi, and then the next month I do Ian McLagan style piano songs, and I start finding out what people are into. And by the end of the year, it's like, well, I put out 2 songs every month, 1 cover and 1 original. And
your version of Wait is so good, by the way, and it takes a lot of courage to cover the Beatles. And
I was so terrified.
You did it justice. It's amazing.
I knew I was going to blush if you said anything about, you said some nice stuff before we got online. So I'm going to go ahead and blush and say thank you for that.
Yeah.
You just put out a single and
good.
it's cool. I never thought I would do a Beatles song for exactly that reason. I stumbled into a nice version of it somehow. I stumbled into a nice version of it and I put it out. So thank you. But
Yeah.
I highly recommend. We got a lot of people saying they like my Patreon. Thank you. And also Jana's got a really great Patreon. I have so many friends who've gone into it because it's also peer-to-peer. There's nobody in between me and those people and the music that I make. There's no label, there's no publicity, there's no nothing.
Yeah.
And I am never going to stop making music for those folks. They have become my hardcore planking people. And I really like it for that reason. I highly recommend looking into it and going, well, what would be the thing for me? And what would be my output? Because everybody does something different, and that's another thing I really, really, really like about it. I thought it was weird. I thought it was going to be like, well, wait, I'm having people pay to be in a fan club. No, people are giving either 5, 10, 25 bucks a month for different things that they want from you. And, for them, it might be a cup of coffee and they get a couple songs,
I like that Craig's saying it's a test lab. That's very cool.
Yeah.
That makes me excited.
Yeah. I have friends too that have a higher level Patreon than me where they make more money. They will test out different producers and they'll take a song and they'll send it to a producer and they'll be like, I want to see what this person does with the song. That is a great use. That is I'm getting chills. I'm like, if I could ever get it to the point where I could afford to do that, then it's just like, wow, to hear. And Wait wouldn't have happened. There's another song I have called Bird Out on Ninth that wouldn't have happened without Patreon.
That's such a great song, too. I love the vibe of that song.
Thank you. That wouldn't have happened without Patreon. So let's go back to that. So we're going to probably go offline or off television in about a minute and a half, and I'm going to watch the clock here. So what we're going to do is a couple of things. We're going to stay online to make sure we get the answers questions answered, the answers questioned. I'm so good at this. So professional. Yeah, we got about a minute. So
I like that way better.
Yeah, we're going to have to make a long story short is what we're going to do. So in a minute, we're going to go offline. So I want to make some thanks. First of all, to Erin Ivey. Here's the information right here. If you would like to check out stuff and make sure, please, please, please check out the new record. It's absolutely brilliant. And I know you're hearing it a lot on Sun Radio and places like that right now too. And then so also thank you to Austin Music TV. We really, really appreciate you and all you do for the scene here in Austin. Thanks for Black Fret for being so helpful to folks like me and Erin and helping us get stuff. And, get stuff. I meant being such a wonderful organization, and et cetera, et cetera. And good. Danielle just put your music page right there as well in the comments. Thank you. Erin, we're off in like 15 seconds, but we're going to stay online and answer more questions. Thank you, Erin.
Great. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. I always like to joke and say, I love being had.
Goodbye to everybody on Channel 16.
Exactly.
Represent.
All right. Okay. So now we are off Austin Music TV and we can do all of the calls to action we want. And the calls to action will be where I say things like, go get her record. Go get her record at Bandcamp. Pay for it if you like.
I'm actually going to the post office later today. So if you want like a vinyl record or a CD or a mug or something, like anything merchy, like go order it now and I'll send it to you like in like an hour.
Can they do that here?
ErinIvey.com.
At these little spots right here. Okay, see, now that's what I'm talking about. I don't know. I just really appreciate it. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to say that we're splitting tips, as always, from these shows. And I'd like to make sure that we get Erin and Cam like a nice dinner for two or something out of this
interview. That would be
interview.
so awesome.
It's always, you're always going to get something. And I appreciate anybody who puts a little $5 in the jar for me and Erin. We're really, really grateful. So we pretty much got through all of the questions, but the last thing I did want to ask you about comes from the fact that I was kind of being a grumpy old man on Twitter. And basically, I was kind of joking. I was joking about the Grammys, and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna watch that thing. I'll go watch the highlight reel. I strangely love popular music and a lot of stuff that's coming out right now. I also noticed that there were so many people that I am connected to that I love, either because I love their music or you know, whether it's like Ruthie Foster was nominated, and I'm a big Fantastic Negrito fan, and I'm really, really, I love how well the Black Pumas are doing, and I'm a huge fan of Rufus Wainwright, but I was also like, yeah, I don't care about the Grammys. Like, it's just a popularity contest. But so then Jana, she wasn't calling me out, but I saw her joking about the olds always talking about the youngs every time the Grammys came out. And I was like, yeah, I'm a pretty get off my lawn kind of guy when it comes to these shows. But before the show, we were talking a little bit about the Recording Academy. And you were just kind of hipping me. I was not really, really thinking about like Music Cares. And for those who don't know, Music Cares is pretty amazing in what they do for musicians. That has nothing to do with whether you're on a big giant label. It doesn't, and you're involved in education. And is it specifically stuff that you worked on in college, or is this like a different branch? Could you talk just a little bit about it so I feel a little bit less like a grumpy old man, and talk about the good things that the Recording Academy does as well?
Oh, thanks for the opportunity. So the thing about this is a new opportunity for me. I've been a member of the Recording Academy for a number of years, but just was elected to the Board of Governors for the Texas chapter a couple years ago, and I'm the chair of the education committee right now. And so I'm acutely aware of all this programming that we're bringing to high school students, and then also to the membership, like cross-pollinating and trying to bring opportunities for the members as well as for them to be influencing the next generation of music makers.
What kind of programming?
Well, right now we are working with Booker T. Washington High School, which is up in Dallas. It is like, if you ever saw Fame, the TV show back in the day, like it's like that. It's a great school. And
some notables have gone there.
Many, Edie Brickell, Nora Jones, Erykah Badu, and those are just off the top of my head.
Scratching the surface. Yeah.
Yeah. So these these students actually really become the leaders of the industry. They're so creative, and they're so supported in their creativity. We want to share with them real life industry lessons and stories, and give them the opportunity to have conversations. So we've been doing these Zoom conversations with, the first one was a couple of weeks ago. And the focus was, we're from Texas. So let me see if I can remember. The panelists were S1, I think was...
Did you mention Paul earlier?
Teresa La Barbera was the moderator. Anyway, I'm not prepared to
Yeah, that's okay.
I don't
I'm putting you on the spot because I thought it was really interesting.
But yeah, Bun B is part of the programming. Paul Wall is a huge part of the whole thing. Gosh, we're going to be talking with Nadia from Pussy Riot. We're going to be talking with, and that one's about being an activist, being an artist and an activist.
Shut up and play your guitar kind of stuff.
Yeah. How do you deal with that? And how do you, if you have something to say that is important and controversial, how do you deal with that? So Nadia is the perfect person to wrap on that. And so we're doing, I think it's like 3 panelists and a moderator. And then these students have the opportunity to jump on and ask questions directly of these industry folks who might otherwise be unavailable to them. So that's the kind of thing that I'm interested in doing, is connecting the dots for not only students, but for each of us. Because like, if you think about it, you have a wealth of perspective and experience that I don't have, and vice versa. We just have different
Totally.
things that we bring to the table. So all holistically, we get together and we start sharing resources and sharing advice and, oh, stay away from that promoter, but you might want to check this out instead. Like even that's real world stuff that
Oh, it
is
is.
important and very practical. I mean, you can't eat theory.
Mm-mm.
That's another
I
thing that
love
we're
that.
putting on later, is a jazz seminar where you can't eat theory. So
Like you
so
can't eat
let's talk
music
about the
theory.
real deal. So
Is that what you mean by that? Wait, I want to make sure I get what you mean by that, because it's a jazz thing. You mean you can't eat music theory like learning chord shapes and stuff, or you can't eat theory like putting
you
things
could be
into.
the best at theory and not be able to put food
You mean
on the
music
table.
theory?
Music theory.
Right. Okay. I just
Yes.
wanted to make sure that that was the thing. And so we're
Thank you
talking
for
about like the
clarifying.
language of music, chords, like is this a diminished seven, is this a minor seven flat five? Yes, you could be the greatest at that and also not be able to communicate,
Yes.
your
Yeah. So
ideas.
how do you balance improvisation with just rote uh playing what's on the page?
Yeah.
How do
Oh,
you
it's such a
approach
great thing.
improvisation?
Yeah.
And getting people who are in the industry, who have been doing this for years, who have interesting stories to tell, and then putting them in a room with people who are hungry for that kind of knowledge and for whom it's going to save a lot of trouble and time. I mean, that's for me, that's what's exciting about being part of the Academy, is that like it's just a level of conversation that is very professional, which you don't get necessarily from the Grammys. So the award show,
Right.
it seems to me to be like really disconnected from the actual real work that I consider that the Academy is doing, which is the work of Music Cares, the Grammy Museum, all of the Grammys in the schools programming, and
Educational
all of that
stuff.
education stuff. Yeah, and so each region has its own chapter. So there's stuff going on the ground that's really very impactful that I don't think the Grammy show does a really good job of expressing all of that.
And I
Kind
wonder sometimes we were talking
of
about
frustrating.
whether we were talking about. I'm sorry I interrupted again. I'm going to always say it's this medium. It's not me. We were talking earlier about how I wonder if it's because it doesn't sell tickets that Music Cares is personally involved in the recovery of so many musicians who have to deal with addiction. And I mean, they have such a huge impact on. I mean, Music Cares saves a lot of lives. I'm just
Yes.
going to say that, knowing from experience. Okay. And do they really spend much time talking about that arm? Maybe they don't because it's not sexy. Maybe they don't because it doesn't sell tickets, but it is pretty amazing what they do.
Yeah,
What
it
is
truly
your
is.
thought? Why they don't talk about it?
I don't know. I wish that they would, because I think what people miss from the Grammy Awards is knowing where that comes from. Like, who does the voting? The
Yeah.
people who are
They don't know.
voting are people working in the industry right now. And so it's always going to be a popularity contest, but it might be a necessary evil where we shine this really, really bright spotlight on whatever's happening in pop culture,
Yeah.
it's a very pop scene, but it draws the kind of money that allows for distribution through Music Cares and through those education programs, that I don't know that they would be able to operate at such a scale if not for that bright spotlight that's almost blinding and maybe even a little disconnected from the rest of the organization. I mean, I wish that they would do more education, but I mean, it's only like a 2-hour show too. So how do
Yeah,
you
that's true. And you
jam all
don't
this
see
stuff?
half of the things that people get awards for.
You don't, and you don't
There's
see
so
a
many
lot of
awards.
the ceremonies where they are talking about this kind of work that the Academy does. So it's kind of one of those things where everybody who I know who's part of it, who really gets it, there's this like light in their eyes. And that's really what drew me to the organization in the first place. I kept, these people were like excited about it. And I was like, why would you be excited about that? It's a stupid award show. And that's just this, like scratching the surface. So
Yeah.
the more that I get involved, the more personal it becomes, and the more I'm able to facilitate the kind of programming that I wish that I had had as a kid, and the kind of programming I wish that I had had as a young artist, and now the kind of programming that I want as somebody who's just trying to make their way in this industry one day at a time.
There you go. All right. Well, I feel I would feel remiss not to talk about that, because in joking with Jana a little bit on Twitter, it's just like, well, yeah, I do know that the Recording Academy has all these things. And so I'm glad we got a moment to talk about it, especially coming after my grandpa get off my lawn comments on Twitter. They weren't that bad.
They weren't that bad. And it's very common. It's very common. I tried not to get my little feelers hurt.
Yeah. And exactly. Erin, this is so much fun. Thank you so much for doing this. Everybody, thank you all for the tips. We really appreciate that. Thank you, Erin, for coming on. Next week, I have the most wonderful educator and fingerstyle guitarist who I've been reading his articles since I was like 19. And we're the same age. His name is David Hamburger, and he's one of the greatest fingerstyle guitar players, in my opinion, as far as my influences are concerned, ever. So we'll have him next week. So I wanted to mention that. Of course, I'll be on tonight from here to there, all the other things, Resentments this weekend, Sims Benefit, which I'm going to talk to you about as soon as we get off. Thanks again to Austin Music, or AustinCityJams.com and Austin Music TV, and everybody who joins in every week. Make sure you join the group if you want to get your questions in early, so I don't have to type them out frantically before the show. And Erin, I really had a wonderful time. Stay on with me for a few minutes if you don't, as we go off the air. But I can't thank you enough. I had a blast talking to you, and I love your new record.
Oh, thanks so much, Plank. I really appreciate you having me.
Okay. Bye, everybody. Oh, what time tonight? Sorry. My show's 8 p.m. Central. There's a lot of competition, sadly, so don't look at whatever else is on. Bye, Erin. Thank you so much.
Bye.